Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. So, what we have is the game board. We have some playing pieces here. Why don't you each grab one of these character tokens to represent your character. They are sun warmed. It's an artisanal.
Yeah. Sun warmed character stones.
Oh, that was the character stone I wanted.
Right.
No, no, I've changed my mind already.
Yeah, this is great.
Whoa, this one's. Look at this. It's like,
I don't think it's as good as this one.
no, it's super good. Man, you guys must be so jealous right now. I got the best character stone.
It looks like a planet with some sort of weather system.
Oh, nice.
Like Jupiter or something.
Yeah.
Life on Mars presents 4 names, and we pick between these. And so anyway, the 4 of them here are Mu, Dakota, Val, or Hyun.
Should I write it down?
I was thinking Hyun. Is that cool with you?
Maybe Moo.
Cool with me?
I'm Val.
Next, we're going to distribute 4 roles between us. They are the commander, the pilot, the doctor, and the engineer. Since there's only 3 of us, of course, we'll just sort them out however we like.
I mean, I really just want to be engineer.
Straight engineer.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a pilot doctor, a commander doctor,
Or a commander pilot. Are you feeling drawn to anything particular? I'm not really feeling commander myself.
I want to be a combo of Jane and Kaylee, Firefly.
Choose a counter for yourself, +1 for the ship. This one kind of looks ship-like.
I like that side for the ship.
Yeah? Move each crew to a space on the ship. After moving a counter, execute one of the protocol listed on that space. Dr. Hyun leading it off. Okay, the ship will go first. So we will go boom. So Dr. Hyun's in his cabin, and it says, "What gives you comfort?" So Dr. Hyun is flipping through photographs on a handheld device of some kind, and he's smiling. He has just like a private grin on his face, and then we see that he's actually not like looking through pictures of the family or anything like that. He's looking through pictures of these different bioengineered gardens, like hanging gardens and walking paths that have like synthestone walkways, or whatever kind of like hanging ferns and stuff like that. And that's all you do. So, Moo, go ahead.
I was dedicated, brilliant, famous. What does that mean?
Oh yeah. So we've got the protocol down here.
Okay.
The question mark symbol in a triangle, it means describe this to us. And then this one is write this on a name tag and show us how this is true. So you can give these, any of these to yourself, you can give them to other people, and they're also non-exclusive.
And then when it says your reflection in the glass, I guess you're trying to inspire some sort of inner monologue within my character. Right. So I, or Moo, I think I'm going to refer to myself as I.
Cool, I is correct.
I'm looking out into the vastness of space, and I've only ever really been one other place in my life. And this whole concept is very big for me. I spent most of my life sitting on a farm somewhere, working on old bikes and old cars, and head deep in an engine at one point or another. Didn't really get a lot of experiences. So I'm trying to just sit back and even begin to fathom everything that is occurring around me. There's like, I've worked on ships before, but only in port, and so I've never really flown on one, and that's making me nervous. I'm a little queasy. I don't ever really do well with moving things, despite how often I spend making things move. It's a weird thing I have to deal with. But yeah, images of like people and faces that I know are kind of fading away as I look deeper and deeper into the darkness of space, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe this was such a good idea. But the hum of the engine sounding really nice and well tuned at least makes you feel a little bit better, because I at least know that.
Yeah.
So we see Commander Val in a kind of cramped room that's like mostly white and has like lots of computer equipment on the walls. Kind of looking vaguely at some of the screens that show just kind of abstract information, like numbers, levels, maybe like a slight marking line. He's thinking about like different crowds that he's been in, random like smiling faces that he's seen. He's kind of a celebrity on Earth, and he's aware of this himself. He's been taking the trip a little difficult, being by himself a lot of the time. Space travel can be kind of solitary, even though you're with other people. After the first few days, you have to figure out what to talk about. So he thinks about all these crowds, and he thinks about the people smiling at him. He thinks about his political career, how he was a governor, and one of those like young governors who like really inspires this sort of like male hero worship type thing, and how he kind of just smiled at himself about that for a while, but then got kind of grossed out by it. But now he feels kind of grossed out at himself because he realizes how much he misses his life on Earth.
So Hugh's sitting in the galley. There's a cup of the liquid in front of him. And he's thinking about Moo, and how Moo is just constantly, like we've just left Earth. Everything on this ship has been like triple checked by like various other people, like from the ground crew. Like there's nothing here that's like at all. Like, there's nothing that needs attention to Hyun's eyes. And I just, I've seen Moo like eradicate the squeak in a cupboard door, and just like constantly moves while like in the same way as like breathing, just like moves to make little details of the ship run smoother, just like work better. And that kind of dedication is just like, I mean, it's really clear why Moo's on this mission. Like, they are ideal. And yeah.
So I'm sitting now after a long stint with myself in a window in my cabin. It's decorated with all sorts of weird things that I think represent me. A little bit of stuff that I think will remind me of home, and a little bit of stuff that really represents the kind of change that I'm making. So I've got little like twinkle lights that are half broken, and only a few of them still light up now, and a few of my old favorite tools. And then in the other corner I've got this like grandiose case of the tools given to me specifically for this mission. There's a lot of really high-tech stuff in there that I'm slightly afraid to touch because I might break it, which is kind of counterintuitive of my job. But they've got my name like engraved on them. It says right there in big clear letters, Morgan Mustache Collins. That's why they call me Moo, for the mustache there. They've actually engraved a little bit of a curly little guy for me. I have an issue actually growing the mustache, which is why everyone makes fun of me. But yeah, so I'm sitting there and I've got my old crescent wrench and a couple of screwdrivers that I could probably throw away at this point. But they're the ones that I know work well, and they're the ones that I choose to use over and over again, despite how rusty and grungy they are. And my mom gave them to me when I first started tinkering with the stuff around the house, and it's like, it means a lot to me that they're here with me, even though a lot of the more high-tech stuff that I've been working with really has, I mean, I've got like heat guns and like things with lasers that I don't quite understand, but I've put two and two together and hope to God no one sees me do it. And I'm just gonna run around the ship and I'm gonna make things, make it look like I really do know what I'm doing, as much as I humanly possibly can. And we'll see how it goes. That's how I deal with my anxiety.
It's a drinking game.
Val is looking out of a very small circular window, and his face fills the entire window. He has kind of a big head. He's used to kind of like thinking about his features in metaphorical terms because they've been described many times in metaphorical terms, just because that's how like magazine features or whatever like to do it. He has kind of a Mount Rushmore forehead, jet black slicked hair, a nose like a confident check mark, lips that are admirable but not overly sensuous or political lips. They don't suggest something untoward, but they're still, like, someone might say, that's a nice set of lips.
Chiseled and dignified.
But they wouldn't necessarily say that. But it would be reasonable if someone said that. He feels this weirdness that he always feels when he's looking at himself, where it's like his features are drifting away from each other, and there's no like unified thing to look at. It's all these sort of separate genetic occurrences that, when summed up, equals a nice photograph, trustworthiness, someone you could vote for. He looks away.
Jim is thinking back to an evening that was a very warm night. It was on this street that was made to look like sort of an old European, that's like a thin street, really walking room only. Tall buildings to either side, but not tall in the modern sense. and there was wonderful music coming up from these sort of just like spilling out of these doorways. And it's like he recalls walking along, and there's all of these people, unrecognizable, and sort of like in the darkness, happy voices sort of like calling out to one another, an absence of disagreement, really. And Hyun was sort of like looking through the crowds, trying to find this friend, and eventually they did meet. It's not someone who knew well. A woman taller than he, with long, dark hair that's slowly curled, and they met up and were, due to the loud music in the bar, were shouting into the sides of each other's faces, and they danced, and they drank these marvelously novel drinks that had sort of like a cultured mushroom growing in them, and they, it's sort of like a recuperative tonic of some sort with added alcohol. And he thinks back to that evening and doesn't think about where that relationship with that person stands at this present day. Just thinks about it instead as a moment in time that is gone now, but is also still here.
So I walk into the flight deck and see the commander staring at his face, and I start to take stock of, this is the first time I saw him once right before we were loading, and everyone was in their lines, and all the deck crew and the mate was there, and then the man who was in charge, I never remember his name. He was a strange man, odd features, kind of hair on the sides of his head sticking out a little bit, in a lab coat. He had something to do with building the ship, I'm not entirely sure. But mostly I was captivated by how much larger the commander was than in his magazine photos, and even now standing next to him, how much bigger, taller he is than me. I'm a very short, and I start to take stock of looking around. I've got tiny hands that are covered in grease, and I'm trying to wipe them off because I'm right in front of the commander right now. I wipe my face, and it leaves, again, like always, a big black streak right on my upper lip. Alright. And I've got this wild, crazy, curly, dark hair that has more than enough diesel. With the right amount of pressure, it could totally just combust. And sticking out in all different angles. I've tried to tame it back with ponytails this whole time, or I'll keep it in one place or another, and it doesn't break, or they get caught, or I probably have a few lost in there at this point. I'm not entirely sure anymore. It's been a while since I showered. Oh well. And so I'm looking at the captain, look at himself, looking at his nose. I think that's what he's looking at right now, I'm not sure. And I start to think, on the grand scheme of things, how young I am compared to all these people who look so serious all the time, walking down the decks. They can't be much older than me, but I just feel so small. They've got their suits and their pins, and they're walking so directly to everywhere they go, and I'm just bumping into people and wandering around and wondering why I took up this recommendation to be here in the first place. And it baffles me. It baffles me entirely. This is such a big thing. I don't know if I can say anything. I don't even know if the captain's noticed. I'm just gonna stay right here. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Slink away.
I'm gonna be like, hello, maybe.
I have a quick question about gameplay.
Yeah.
Are we interacting with each other, or is it just story?
We're playing it right. This part of the game doesn't have scenes.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to know if if I was trying to push a meeting too much with that one.
No, I thought that was awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, because totally. You know, you're yes-anding or like drawing in the fact that there's someone else in the same spot, but you're not.
All right.
Whatever. Thumbs up.
Nice.
I remember meeting the doctor at a big dinner with. It wasn't like a NASA dinner or anything. It was like kind of a publicity thing. So we had 2/3 of our crew there, and then one person who I didn't quite know yet. But I guess Hyun had made it on. When I saw him, he was standing at a window. There wasn't anything that I could really tell that he was like looking at. And I felt like it would be important to talk to him. So I walked up. He was pleasant. I looked out there and tried to like see what he was looking at too, which was kind of an implicit question to him about what he was looking at. And so he picked up on that. And he said, "This is the last city that had the modern colic." And we all know, of course, that this is the big disease of our time, the big scare. We associate it with 5 years of alarming colors: yellow, red, and orange. Mostly red during those last couple years. I realized why Hyun was here. He was on that team. I caught on, looked at him, shook his hand again more strongly, smiled. This was a big one. And started talking in a louder voice about, I can't even remember what I was talking about. But when I think of how like discreet the two parts of that conversation were, it makes me think. I'm glad he's here. I don't think there's anyone better suited. New diseases are kind of like alien invaders anyways. Strange life that we've never heard of. They have kind of a similar menace and mystery to them. Yeah. I'm glad he's here. He seems graceful with his fame.
Hyun stands in the doorway unseen behind Moo, Hyun smiles in a private way and crosses to one of the chairs most distant from where Moo has stationed herself, sits at one of the stations to look back at some information that had been gathered, and here's the terminal. Glancing up, he catches his image in the foreground with Moo behind him. Of course, she's facing away. The largest of the on-deck windows looms before him. And Hyun smiles and sort of moves his mouth, and the very fine lines around the edges of his mouth move. And how old I look compared to all of these young people, he thinks to himself. And his hair, which is long but in fairly tight ringlets that could, go around a pencil, brushed back, sweeping from his forehead, which is gaining more and more ground with each passing month. As he smiles, the tattoos on his chin that he got decades ago to honor the culture of his mother's line. Though with these tattoos have begun to spread a little bit in their time. With the strange choices of youth, instead of getting them done in the traditional black, he instead chose a mirrored pigment that reflects some of the lights from around the consoles. He has grown accustomed to the look, but sometimes it still causes him to smirk at the choices one lives with. He remembers something that a teacher would say. And one time, he caught that teacher in a private moment, and they were staring at themselves in a reflection. And what they would say is, pretty good. Sort of with an appraisal tone. And so, though he doesn't move his mouth again, this runs across his mind. Pretty good.
So I'm sitting in the satellite room. Is that what this is? Satellite room? And one of the screens way in the back, kind of away from the door, I'm viewing a few home movies that I decided to take with me during this trip. There's quite a few old ones in there. My mother still looks healthy, and I'm wearing a dress, so we know it's been a long time. My little brother's there, all plump and blonde and looks nothing like me. Probably adopted. I'll touch on that later. And you can hear my dad's voice coming from behind the camera, doing his little cheesy dad thing, laughing at all the things that we say, and no matter how ridiculous they are. And you can see the big house that we used to live in, and how active it was, and how bright it was. I don't remember anything ever being so bright. My dog was quite old then too. She must have died a few years later. But it was good to see that kind of emotion in this ship. It's been a very long time, and everyone's has so much to do, and it's so hard to connect with people on that same level anymore. And ever since my mom passed, it's been really hard for me to even connect in a regular scenario. But it was good to watch. It was green and blues and sun and party dresses and some sort of holiday I don't even remember anymore. And it was a fantastic just like memory, and I'm so glad I brought it with me. I can flip through and there's others, birthdays, Christmases. At one time, Gregor learned how to walk and then fell on his face, and you could see me in the corner laughing because, well, he was the favorite and I had to get my kick somewhere. And it was so good to see, and I wish that I could call them, but there's no, for most of them anyway, it's impossible. And this change is something that needs to be done if I'm going to, there's ghosts in every corner, and maybe not where we're going. Maybe no more ghosts there. I suppose.
It's late, I guess, in our journey, and I've been feeling really impatient. Although there's so much to do, and I'm busy almost all the time as we get ready to land. And I guess I strangle out some of that impatience by hanging out in the cargo area. There's this big kind of like box that's like white and covered like with a various kind of like rugged synthetic material that's kind of smooth, and I guess it'll unfold once we get there, but I kind of like hike myself on top of it. I bring with me like my little tablet, which is something I can use to like make notes and look at stuff that reminds me of home, and work even when I'm sitting around. While I'm sitting up there, usually what I do, kind of hold it with one hand and navigate, swishing around with my index finger. I'm kind of moving the different assets of the ship around. Once we land, we'll be kind of spread out. We'll have different facilities. We'll go to our work, and I won't have to be the pilot for a little while. So yeah, I kind of look at this depiction of all the little areas on top of this like field of red that's kind of like mottled and shaded like the surface of the planet. I get like this really funny feeling like I'm an astronaut and like I'm looking at this thing that like somebody on Earth could like look at like super easily and just kind of like a kid could look at this. It's like super simple, and they could dream about being me or somebody on the ship. It yields this like virtuality to the planet. Or maybe I feel like I need to distance myself right now because this is kind of history. I mean, it's like a big thing. When I talk about it in my like loud voice, that's what I say. It's a big thing. It's a historic moment. It's another small step. Now it's just kind of like tiny and toy-like. I guess it just makes me less anxious to look at it that way.
We arrive on Mars!
Champagne.
We need to high five each other.
Oh.
Whoa! you want to do the honors?
No, I was just moving on.
Oh, you can now if you want. Each turn, move the sun towards the launch window. Now our ship is the sun. So there's a new protocol here, you'll see. That's next to these ones.
Okay.
Describe deploying this module. Always choose this first. And then you'll still find that there's the two others. You remember how to use those guys?
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been that long. I just wanted to make sure. So I'll go. Hyun walks through the blank canvas of the workshop. Walks around the room, unlocking things and scanning or like quickly swiping a small thing in his hand to what is termed waking up the electronics from their sort of like compressed state that even now they'll like have like the tiniest fraction of an inch for breathing room for air to circulate. So like everything's just like slowly uncompressing. And like the circuits are waking up and all this stuff's happening. He just like walks around the room, turning it on, and looks around the room appraisingly. Gives it a small frown, which looks a little bit more startling for the tattoos, and then leaves the room. Moments later, he comes back, pushing a chair that just, doesn't really have wheels, but he's pushing it through the plastic walkway. Now this is like one of the recreation room chairs. It like looks really out of place in the workshop, but it is comfortable. And so he sort of sets it up and has a smile with himself.
So I find myself stuck with getting this lab ready, of which all of the equipment inside is made out of glass thinner than I could imagine, and screens that are really sensitive to touch, and I'm carrying these big crates with something that says fragile like at least 3 times on it, and that's not the best. This is not the best place for me to be, but I'm gonna do what I'm told. So I'm getting everything ready and thinking to myself the whole time, like, don't break it, I got this, we got this. Set them up gently, it's like tower of cards, don't breathe. And of course I break at least 3 strange looking 3-tiered glass jars. There was nothing in them, I promise, it's fine. But I'll clean it up before anyone can see it. And I'm just warming everything up. Everything's got this Hyun's name on it, I think, all over, like, all of this stuff, like, don't touch it, or be careful. And I'm assuming it's the doctor everyone's been talking about on the ship. So I've kind of pushed all of that stuff into one little corner, also labeled with that same name. He's got his own special little corner, I guess. And then I see other names of other, I think, lab assistants and other things on different files and computers, and then areas in which to set up the glassware. And there's some rumbling around behind me as one of the other deckhands is pushing things around, probably thinking the same thing I am. And we worked for quite a long time trying to get this delicate thing set up, but I just feel like a bull in a china shop waiting for something to go wrong. I'm going.
A point of clarification.
Yeah.
I was wondering, how many people are on the ship? Because at first I got the
red
sense.
shirts. I just started putting red shirts in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it couldn't really get done, so I just added some nameless people. I
Yeah.
hope that's okay.
I mean, I think that's cool. Yeah, it's just, I've always imagined it as like being like only those 3 people. So it kind of changes maybe my sense of scale of the ship, you know?
Yeah, it was actually mentioned earlier too that there was like other people on the ship with us too.
That was also
Oh, really?
me.
No, I know, it's great.
Okay.
Okay.
Stop playing in the past, man. Step into the now. Mars.
Mars is now.
Stop playing in the past, comma, man. Life on Mars.
Don't use that. Val has his tablet in his left hand. He's out on the surface. It's clear. There's red rock beneath him. He's wearing a suit. The glass is up over his face. There's a slight bit of his reflection in it. Except there's a curve to the glass, so it's like the parts of his face are kind of stretched out a little bit. He's walking around the edge of this great circle, kind of like a giant hula hoop that's been dropped on the surface of the planet. This arrived like months before. And as he walks around, he like looks at his tablet and he'll like unclip something, sort of like turn like a little kind of like metal key and then like pull it out. And he goes around like the full circumference of that ring doing that. And once it's all open, we see that there's like another ring like inside of that outer ring that begins to kind of like shrink and move upwards. So it separates from the ring that's attached to the ground and gets smaller and rises, and the rings are joined by this transparent synthetic looking material that rises with it. The ring rises slowly. Val kind of just stands there with his tablet at his side looking up at it as the ring goes up and up. Eventually, like, the ring breaks into 3 parts. The parts kind of like curl in towards each other like a vortex, and that closes the void at the top of the dome. And so we see this grand dome, maybe 10 meters high. Val walks towards part of the dome that seems to have like a door-shaped seam on it, and he finds its furled little edge. As he peels it open, there's kind of like this sigh of air, which suddenly stops. He steps in and replaces the seal. And he's in like this very small, like barely room for him to like turn around, like cocoon like thing that's like dark, and then like a light flickers on, like a small lozenge of a light. Otherwise everything's very smooth. And he finds the furl of the seal of the next door and opens it. And he smells a strange atmosphere inside and steps in.
Hyun is crunching on across the gravelly landscape where we've touched down, and approaches the the dust-proof bag that the rover is zipped into. As he's walking around it, almost paying more attention to the landscape than to the task at hand, though it is a very simple task. The material comes off in one large piece, sort of slowly, like shrink wrapping itself away from the rover, and it's simply for Kuhn to make sure that it doesn't get caught on anything as it's coming away, and then he'll recycle it back at the facility into whatever other plastics are necessary. And as he's walking around the back of the rover, something catches his eye, and he looks down, and in a bold font in black across a white rectangle, it says, "I image new colic." And it's very iconic symbolism that Americans would have on T-shirts when they're like celebrating their love for a city. But instead of celebrating a city, it's celebrating this terrible disease. Not celebrating exactly, because the image is not a heart. It's I, picture of Hume's face, new colic. So in a way, it's an attack against new colic. It's like, we will stand up against this. And it sort of hits Hume the wrong way. And not until later does it cross his mind that, like, people will, not people who know him, but some people might think that he put this on the rover. He's the one out here opening the thing up. But he just, he was a part of, like, several interlocked teams that did a lot of work here. Like, putting him as the figurehead is, like, ridiculous in the extreme, and really insulting to a lot of, like, extraordinary professionals. So in the bulky gloves, he attempts to catch the edge of the vinyl sticker to begin peeling it off, hoping that the heat of the entry into Mars' atmosphere won't have, like, permanently locked this onto the bumper of the rover.
Oh boy.
And he finds himself comically cursing the glove, and then, like, smiling to himself, like, what am I doing? Upon further inspection, it seems that this is not a sticker at all, that it's just been print gunned directly onto the rover. So with nothing more to do, like, thinking, like, should I try and, like, repaint this section of the rover? Like, that seems, like, absolutely unnecessary. And feeling sort of a station that it would be improper for him to, like, unpack all of these complicated feelings for anyone who might encounter this rover. He simply resigns himself to his treatment as a, token, as a famous person, and makes his way back to the main living area.
Cool. It's like a Seinfeld episode. The slap bass comes up.
Yeah, totally.
We don't have to set everything up right away, do we?
That's right, we don't.
Okay, cool. Because I don't see a need for setting up the return shuttle until we actually need to use it.
Yeah.
Unless I want some
we
private
actually
time.
need to use it.
Some private time and return shuttle.